hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, every house on a day. Today, now that beautiful and blessed day will don't come on social media review with we distinguished attorney, we by God by always. Of course, we lead host and Lady Fadima Savage. They are still, busy. Busy with other things. Then he didn't at all, but he follow. I must tell now, she's following everything where they go now. Yeah? And of course, they at liberty for all the time call if you get anything for offer to the team. But as usual, again, I did with Mr. Shillon. The good thing about we having Mr. Shillon, he not the only actor co-host, but also in a lawyer. So we'll get stuck with law issues them. He just the navigatory. So Mr. Shillon will come in, he tell Adu, then he lay out the premise, who side and make this discussion, so they can go. And one talk say this go now an interactive discussion as we go. We now call and he go announce all the numbers them. We now go get to it, all the platforms the whole day. So well again like he always can say, let me say this. We get forget this mutual understanding and mutual respect. We not get the right for and we put in our opinions, but nobody not get the right for do anything we go, kind of offend the dignity of the place. We serve the host them. We they under moral obligation for respect to them. So now the mutuality this is what they look for. So Mr. Shillon, you can tell Adu and then you open up, you lay up the thing. I will pick it up from this side.
Hello. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever on a day in the world. It's nice to be back this weekend, this Sunday. As usual, for we'll talk about things affecting the country, things about the Salone. So hope people can go listen and go get something for said and we'll get questions for us and we'll get suggestions for make. This weekend, as usual, every week, a lot they happen. So in the country and about the country, what we can get Lily and nothing for say about. So this weekend we get a few topics that we'll talk about, among which the top topic could be the Salone national soccer team and all the aspects of their participation in the Africa Cup of Nations, then victories, then draws, then losses, the implication of winning, the implication of running, of losing, and what in all land is signified for the future. And so in that respect, we hope people will get a lot for say. And later we talk about policy and all the stuff then they. Then, of course, we will touch on the pardoning of the guy called Lack, in Sierra Leone, will apparently lead to the firing or the sacking of Attorney General Brewer. And so we will talk about that. And again, every act of firing gets implications. So we will talk about the implications. I think now then just appoint the fourth Attorney General under President Bio. So since President Bio came to power in 2018, it appears as if he is averaging one AG every year. From me on perspective, I don't think that's a good sign. I think the president for begin give some careful thought, not to just react. It will look like each time he changed Attorney General, starting with Charles Magai, it was a reaction to a situation. So we will hope the president will begin to give careful consideration in appointing, just as much as he will give careful consideration in sacking. And we know say after Charles, Attorney General Schwartz, the lady, they come. Also, she was sacked as a reaction to what I consider to be a positive impact on the judicial system, which I think the president should have been proud of. But subsequently, I was disappointed to learn that the president I'm not so sure if the president himself personally was disappointed, but it appears as if there were people within the party structure who felt there should have been political interference in the trial to have caused a non-acquittal of the defendant, which I think will have spoken badly of the country, because what you need for begin for learn, you cannot condemn the act of one person. We cannot say Anas Kurma was bad, Anas Kurma was that, Anas Kurma, Shaka Stephen was doing this, was interfering with the judicial system. Then when power changed hands, we practice the same thing and think, and then cite ridiculous example like, well, the other guy better do him. You know? So what's wrong with me doing? Of course, there's a whole lot wrong. That's why you were criticizing the other guy. You know? So if you don't get the ability to make improvement and take a different course, we should call you out on that. You know? So Attorney General Schwartz was fired or sacked because of that. Then we'll get Mr. Brewer, who came in, and then there's a reaction to the pardoning of some guy who's, I understand, say, a cold-blooded murderer, and which I think is an appropriate reaction of the president if he didn't know about it, or maybe he was not given adequate fact to make a decision on it. But then now we'll get a Mr. Tarawali. So I hope he will be there for a while, and he will make a difference, and he will look out for a new legacy, because all the attorneys general they would get. I mean, at the end of the day, what legacy have they left? Nothing that I'm aware of. Is the same old, same old. I mean, like American can say, garbage in, garbage out. Then come in, the system was messed up. Then go out, the system was still messed up. No substantive improvement. So I hope Mr. Tarawale will understand that and try to make an impact. So history will say when he came, the situation was this. When he left, there was a market improvement. And so we'll get for deal with that aspect there. So I just want to let people know, say we'll get, and then there are other issues that we will talk about, but the main issue is the soccer thing. The last but not least, we always announce the numbers then for people and for Richwe, just in case. Then they try for Richwe, they know. So we get toll-free number, which is 866-944-7721. The toll-free number starts, of course, with 1-866-944-7722. Then we have a UK number, United Kingdom number, with a +44 203 239 9581, +44 203 239 9581. We also have Australia number. If in case you're calling from there, you will get for dial +61 280 064 352, +61 280 064 352. And then last but not least, we get a WhatsApp number also, which is 1-343-997-5828, 1-343-997-5828. So with that said, I'll go pass on it back to Mr. Kutubu. We go lay the program out and we'll go from there. So, Professor, I turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Shillong, for such, a wonderful narrative as you lay them. This study, things about viewers were very structured, well formatted, so that way the people when they come, they go actually know what to come up. So they will make sure say whatever they do, they go there within the confines of what the dynamic will come with the. You even have been meeting me, they will call on the agenda, because this is what the agenda says. And we didn't have the meeting, they talk, you for talk within the agenda, not outside the agenda. That said, Mr. Shillong, we don't come back. The game not done. We not win. That's not the issue. So me, what I mean concern is for the first two games we play, Then, the hail we pray as Hosanna. They make the Hosanna. We see everywhere. Then 2 games and there was no the only thing we been seeing and Salone see. I not see McKinney, I not see Magurka, I not see Bo, I not see Kenima, I not see Puyong. I Salone I see. I not see SPP, I not see APC, I not see NGC. I Salone see. Everybody glad the world union. But then just because now we lost the game, suddenly now, then people that want to be in Hosanna, now say let crucify them. To the extent they even don't go now that money how the man they under threat in family, Mr. Kamara, because he missed a goal. So me only and believe say when you come for talk, you go support me on this. Say there has to be what they call game spirit. What it actually make what you go give you the moral high ground. When you lost honorably, you accept them. Then what you do, you learn from your mistakes then. That Monday morning quarterbacking, now the coach, now the faults, now the play for, we don't know. Yes, we will not see that. But we on job, I believe, say that for boost the psychological profile, the moral profile, for let we tell the players and say, we respect them. We appreciate what they do. Because for long, we don't go to the kind of place here, so they don't go yonder. We believe, say, they don't learn valuable lessons. After all, we get the World Cup, get for Cam Gisno. From the mistakes that will happen, they will correct them. So without really narrative, Mr. Shilon, see what you able to extrapolate, from this, what you go out to answer.
Well, in a way, it's disappointing for Yerise. I can see people are disappointed at the loss. I was too. And so were many people. But that's a far cry from blaming, for blame, let alone for threatening physical harm or injury to any player. So here is what I think. If we consider the Sierra Leone football team a national treasure, number one, government get a role for playing in the sense that when you begin to hear such threats, you don't wait until something harmful happens before you try for correct the situation. It will be too late. So the fact that we don't hear people and the threaten and the basis for the rumor seem to be factual. It seems to me, I see the Minister of Information plays a lot of role, sometimes areas where I think, for the play role, such as coming and telling we about cyber law. I don't know why we'll get the Attorney General, if not the Minister of Information, they can't talk about cyber law. If not, they go talk about cyber law in the Parliament. But this is one area where I think the Minister of Information will be appropriately used in the office for talk to the nation. I don't think this call for presidential broadcast or press conference. I think it's an appropriate area in which the Minister of Information and the Minister of Sports, but definitely the Minister of Information, can step forward and do a public service announcement and explain, because you see, what people do not understand, they make always that they blame the ministers and the government. There is a role to play. These offices are not given to you guys just for the fancifulness of it or for the fancy of it. These positions are given to you guys for educate the rest of we. There's a tremendous responsibility that would be in a minister. Okay, just like the responsibility that goes with being the president. So now, as a matter of policy, I would have suggested that the president instructs the Minister of Information, say, hey, you need to go on the air, maybe in conjunction with the Minister of Sports, and tell people and say, or maybe with the police chief, for say, we will not tolerate any verbal threats to any player when they're abroad or when they come into the country. And that if you do that, we will look at the statute, we will look at the law way applicable for threatening somebody, and we will charge you with that. So it is not right for threatening somebody. Then the Minister of Sport, in your responsibility will be for explain the psychology of sports. In any sport, you do not have a perfect player. You win some, you lose some. So people are need to understand that basic rule there. Even sometimes on a bad day, the better team will lose to the weaker team. The better team may, we tie with Algeria. They were a better team, but on that particular day they will play them, they couldn't beat us. Okay? So, well, the luck, they rotate. So if we lose to Equatorial Guinea, it just so happened that we have to lose because we even get penalty where we're not able to score. And we all know, say, the penalty, not for score penalty, it hardly ever happens. Most times you can come down there as a goal. And the person will take the penalty, not to what you will call fake kind of person, is a well-trained, renowned player. Okay? But it happened that way there. So we just get to accept the outcome and still cheer these guys that they went the distance, then just get bad luck or misfortune, then play well. Nobody will say that the way they play and I make the no win. You can still say that bad luck, at least we will have tied it. You cannot get a better opportunity for equal the score with a penalty and miss them. Or of course, miss them, keep a save them, So we need the Minister of Sport should have that responsibility for educate the public. Say that's what sport is about. And from now on, what would the root for a team? They will also understand, say, we can lose. And if we lose, we'll be big enough for accept the loss. That doesn't say a player here and there may not have been responsible, but collectively you blame the whole team. We will not win in order to go victimize one person. But so it's very disappointing when we begin for a say, some of these players are being threatened. I mean, nobody not get the right for threatening anybody with any physical harm. I don't care how disappointed you are. And the only two things there, if the government take it serious, and like I say, listen to the kind of thing with the president for being involved, then I waste of the president's time. Now, these are adequate issues for the ministers and for deal with. And we may assume, say, oh, people have know better. No, people don't know better. Now we job for educate them. People are being driven by their emotions. So now we make them understand the dynamics in sports, that on a bad day or on a given day, even the best person can perform poorly. Even recently we see the young lady who will go to the Olympics, now Japan, for America, the gymnast, the black lady, top notch. They're right there at the Olympics. He just say, I'm not able to compete. I'm not fit for compete. I'm not physically, but mentally I'm not prepared. That was it. And everybody begin explain, say, okay, we understand. Sorry it happened to you. So we learn from that. Not to always we get for begin and make them black and white. The people then get psychological problems too. I played soccer. I never offered ever for kick penalty because I know it's a lot of pressure, particularly when they one goal down and when I need the equalizer day. I never get enough confidence in myself for offer for take a penalty kick because I know say if I not score, all the blame could be there for me. Maybe it's time for we for begin bring psychologists then to the team for let them understand the significance of a penalty kick for a nation that is down one goal. And who would I want to take on for make you reach that level of confidence that say I can take this kick and score. Where you go take the kick, go get doubt. For say, I can score or I'm not going to score. So there's a lot that goes into all this whole thing about sports, but People should refrain from that, and I will hope the government preempts before these guys get to Freetown, that the government step forward and the government preempts people them. What they even think we for dance for them, we like for dance for people who want to go achieve something, then deserve a a great welcome. Then for dance for them, then for play the national anthem, and for do everything. That's the kind of welcome they deserve, not to the kind of thing what would the area say people and they say, you know. So please, for the one that would listen, with us the plea tone, I say not to show you the deal in sports. You win some, you lose some, and you for be gracious when you lose. So that said, Professor, probably like we be agree say, we're going to take one call as we go. So I would suggest that you take a call, then we will move further.
Okay. That's so well said. And let's see. Caller. Good afternoon. Who say the call from? What's your name? And what you want to add to this beautiful discussion
Okay,
here so today, though?
Let God bless you now for the wonderful work on they do.
I mean, you're
This
happy.
now Mustafa they called from France, and when it comes to sports, I don't know what's they happen with we Sierra Leoneans. The things working difficult for let other people them accept now the other countries them. For we get one of the unique thing where we able to accept the religion. That religious tolerance we get. If we can use them for implement them into sports, we implement them into politics, it go be say Salone will be the best country in the world. Because now one good thing that the world we get, I don't travel a lot when all other countries where they see, don't know where they live, where they see them, they know where they live, how they segregate themselves. Now big blessing and the way God give you, for use them and the politics and sports. Because the sports here, because the people away want to go misbehave to Kai Kamara, now just people away not just responsible. When you watch them, responsible people are not there among them. Every league the way they watch, we can get to team the way they support them, Manchester, Arsenal, or so forth and so on. What they support them team, then they lost. We they gonna host them. We not get not what they do. What of the national team? You know, that we get lots of things that were really. I don't know, really Sierra Leoneans them. Any government will come na Salone now for really try for make let people them go they go. Then they do medical checkup, that psychological checkup, because it affect lot of youth them actually. It affect them a lot. When they pass na street, most of them are frustrated one and they pass na street. They see and clean, decent. But if you react, you shock. Government really need for work on that. They forget really professional psychologists. Them let them bring them calm for the council the youth them at the country. Because things that will not make sense at all. Nine them can take for granted. Imagine how we accept yourself the religious tolerance. Imagine. You dey see somebody when a Christian, when fast month come, now in the pool, now in the cook for letting people them cut fast. But when it comes to sport, we need to tolerate yourself. When it comes to politics, we need to tolerate yourself. I don't know how we they go, and we get for prepare this country for our future, the kingdom. Not for we now, because we don't they go now. But the one the way they come now make a decent country for them. Let them enjoy, say, we forefathers they work for we. Because in the country how they, not for this generation work. Now then great grandpa they work here. God bless you now. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you so much, my brother. Thank you so much. Next caller, what's your name and what's the call from, please? Caller, what's your name and what's the call from, please? All right, Mr. Shino, we don't lost that calling. we don't exhaust this discussion. Now we can't go to the other one again. Like you say, by God power, we'll hold on again, like you correctly say, we'll open the line for people there. As you know, you get this pardon business, where if I don't get a name, we call them pardon gates. You know what about gates? We remember Watergate now, 1972. Remember Watergate now, in which we get a lot of controversy. Now, what I do that sets the stage, so you will come in with all the constitutional angle of them. The president, as you know, now in the fountainhead of mercy, honor, and justice. These are one of the constitutional responsibilities in that. So you get the power for, decorate people then, forgive them, honors them, make them member of the Revokes, order of this, order of that, everything. Also, you get the other one where now in the exercise, mercy on people then. But within the prisons of that, you get a committee where now for look, he make their recommendation, and the committee forget the attorney general, because he didn't get the attorney general because he get for do with law, so that he go advise the members of that committee on the law aspect of it. So when they don't know all the recommendations, then they pass it to the president. So this case where the way me look at, I don't know, eventually gave us something. Now two fundamental issues we I believe say forget for answer there. The other will go back to what happened at the Watergate case now, when Senator Howard Baker asked that famous question, what did the president know and when did he know? And you say that question then lead to the downfall of President Nixon. So conversely, the way they bring up is this: when they add LAC in name on that, when they add them, the question is, in name being there, the name become when they all be sitting on that committee where they made a recommendation, in name being company discussion, then a B. If in name not being candy, they don't make the recommendations then. When they insert in name day. So was it before, during the recommendation or after the recommendation when they give the president? Of course, in the final analysis, the president now responsible for this, because the thing is the president, the box stops with him. Now he's responsible. So a lot of schools of Togo come, well, hey, guess what? Yesterday, but the president before look up, the president before ask people there, the president before do this, the president before do that, the president before do this, the president. So the box stops with the president. Now you know we're not in the middle. I have to say when the president need for come out first of all and apologize to the country, and to talk to the nation, and then we can now go in depth. We will make a house cleaning. That's it. So with this, see what in you be able to put Palo this up.
Well, to me, there are certain things where I not think they call for the president's involvement in many ways, even though he gets something for do with time, because the president gets a lot of important things in for do. That's why they get mechanism in place for do certain things. It seems to me, based upon the few things I've read about the president and presidential power, the power exists as it should for pardon, with limitation, without limitation, in within the framework way they say if operate. The trouble about the situation is now the process, I think, wrong. And maybe they need to look into the way we then set it up. I think, say, a pardoning board, not for just be a board of politicians or of ministers, because they're talking about the president may, acting in accordance with the advice of committee appointed by cabinet, over which the vice president shall preside, grant any pardon and this and that. Maybe this, sometimes things happen for a reason. Maybe this is one opportunity for the country to go back. And these are some of the things like the president, like the attorney general can look at. And since the predecessor was fired or sacked in relation to this pardoning issue, it may be a good place for Attorney General Tarawali for start looking and see how they can improve the situation or how they can modify them for make them more efficient and for minimize any temptation of corruption, because there should never be a situation in which the president signs on a list of people to be pardoned, then after the president's signature, then go add names then there. That of itself, there may not be laws will prohibit that, but I don't think any high official be able to do that. The indication what we get is that that's what happened, that the president had no intention of pardoning this gentleman who is generally known as a cold-blooded killer, who may have political clout, and who is rumored that even the time when he served on Baimba Road, that he has enough clout not to even spend nights there. If it is true, that's bad for a country. And so, well, it is clear by the president in swift reaction that he had no intention of pardoning this guy. And even if he did, in swift reaction, I think, helped in public image that this guy was not deserving of being pardoned. So that said, I think the need for look into the process itself. They need for look into it and see how better they can improve or redo the pardoning process without affecting the president in power, because I strongly believe that the president should have almost absolute power to pardon. It should be unconditional. If I be able to pardon somebody for any reason he sees fit or he deems necessary. So I'm all in favor of that. So me not get no involved. Also, me not think I think if we begin attach some significance to the president or some value to the president in time. I don't think for me, I don't think it called for a national broadcast by the president. I mean, the law can be changed. And even if the president go on the radio, on TV and broadcast, a large percentage of the population, they don't know what's in a pardoning. They can't relate to it. So I don't think that would be a wise use of the president in power. If the president goes to talk about pardoning, I mean, most of the people in the country will not even know what he's talking about. I mean, they may not even know, the process even allows for somebody to commit crime within a jail. Some powerful person, like the president, can just say, "When I pull on a jail." So that would be opening a whole kind of worm when not necessary. Politically, I don't think it's good. It is what it is. The president don't exercise in power. Then I have had some criticism and issues with respect to whether the president get the power for pardoning somebody, then take the pardon or retract the pardon. Well, that's a good issue to be argued. I think there's arguments on both sides. I will side with the president that he has such power. If, for whatever reason, he was misled or certain facts were kept away from him, which would have been necessary for him for come up with an opposite decision, but he found out subsequently, I think the president should get the power for retract whatever clemency he has given to anybody. So that said, I am all in favor. I don't think the president needs to do national broadcast. I think the matter can be best dealt with by the Attorney General taking it over, looking into the process, and trying to improve the process. Because this is not a problem back home. Back home, we now believe in improving situations. All we are doing is just watching something go wrong, then we want to do something about it. And also, we own pardoning laws. We got to look at and see how workable it is within the framework of our own constitution. Not to for write laws because the same way it did at the books in Nigeria, we did at the books in Ghana. Let's look at our own unique circumstance and then craft some laws consistent with the present social and legal situation. To me, that would be my suggestion. But it's always about copying without regard to whether it is fully applicable to we. Is a recipe for disaster down the line. So I would strongly suggest that the Attorney General, this is a good area, it can take off from the former Attorney General and try for, among many other things, try for improve the system, you know.
Thank you.
And yeah, go ahead, Professor.
Thank you so much, sir. The lines are open though. Before we go to the next one, I mean, if anybody get anything for ask Mr. Shillon or for add to the debate, because we're ready for go to another one again. If not, Mr. Shillon, let us again look at something. Of course, the social media. Everything now we all spend inordinate amount of time, na social media. Everything we criticize. For example, the president yesterday, he just appointed this attorney general. So, but then people are saying, "Oh, well, within 4 years we don't get 4 attorney general." But they fail to understand one thing, Mr. Shillon. The president, if people that they read how the appointment in the command, he said it pleases the president for appoint Mr. Y, Ms. X, Mr. Z, Ms. E to this position also. Especially when it comes to cabinet job. People they fail to realize cabinet job not to lifelong job, not to career job, neither not to permanent job, then care about not to pensionable job. Yes, perhaps we could talk, say, well, the president actually before make due diligence before he bring that. But anything can happen because the president they bring you there initially or president. Lord, even just forget about this point. Lord, broaden the discussion small. Because I give a number of examples. Even happen now when Mr. Trump is in power. In fact, the Secretary of State now, the way I am, if you tell an inside Twitter and I didn't hear that, now somebody say, hey, you're not a Secretary of State anymore, they don't fire you. Also, the administration as before Mr. Bio, you will get other attorney, I'll be happy, you will get Seri Kamal. Seri Kamal was fired where he been in the hospital. Where did he? Now, the president remove him and the Kuma remove him. The other guy, Frank Calbo, they don't come out weekend, they don't come out work and all that. He don't only way they go home now, they fire. And now they say, hey, we ain't and so they say, you not to attorney general, they appoint another person. Now they make Kamare. So in other words, what do you mean? Talk the president get the right for appoint you and for take the job. So, but I don't know what you go out to do, whether Papa the president get for begin check people them sound opinion before he remove somebody. How you go strike a balance now, event strategic balance for this appointment, dismissal within the period, within specific periods, sir. How you look at it?
Well, from me own perspective, I think from a public relations standpoint, it doesn't reflect well on the president, in the sense that this is my 4th year in power, my 4th Attorney General this. To me, by implication, it appears as if the president is not being, there is no due diligence being applied into trying to find someone who is kind of steady for such a position. So my situation simply is that that will reflect when you get that many changes in one office for 1 year, and it just happened to be the top law enforcement person, it doesn't reflect too well on the president. It's not like one is trying to fault the president, but it's a matter of maybe the president just needs for change in approach in terms of who he appoints. Maybe instead of, because he too quick for appoint a replacement, maybe he's better off appointing an acting while he takes time to look into who that will replace who's been sacked or fired. Because after all, the Attorney General get assistants, or if we don't get official positions as Assistant Attorney General, I think it's about time we begin to get that. So the president not for day under any rush for us to replace the president, unless he already has a list by which if anybody in the cabinet leaves or is getting rid of, he already get a list of substitution. If he gets such list, fine. But when you get the Charles Magai situation, who was fired and instantly replaced by Brewer, by Schwartz, and then Ms. Schwartz was fired and instantly replaced by Brewer, and then Brewer fired and instantly replaced by Mr. Tarawali. It doesn't seem to me that there is some deliberation or pause and look and before you appoint the next person. And me think say within the office, the president can just get somebody to act until such time that he really make up a mind on one particular person, because it seems like the person the way they appoint, they're not to give them the consideration necessary before you appoint them. So I hope that may not be the case of the current Attorney General. So this is not to be taken as criticism of the president. Again, I'm just saying I would think it's a good reflection on the president in judgment or on the advice system. That's basically what I'm saying. And it's not a reflection on the new appointee. I mean, he may be the best and the brightest, but I'm just saying the methodology or the manner in which the president keeps firing and appointing Attorney General or Attorney General is not quite an impressive record so far.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you. The lines are open again for anybody who get issue with this frequency in Attorney General business. Then I don't know if we get anything we want to add to that. Other than that, we get another thing we want to discuss. Then we Nigeria and the tournament. I think that Nigeria also don't lost to Tunisia. So not to Salone no more also. Nigeria don't lost to Tunisia. So law take solace in the fact say we people then play very well. Then why not defeat from Tunisia? Tunisia be the one not. So they are out of it. But the hope is then people in Nigeria not go for dump the players they say because they don't win, because they need not to pauper. Not to pauper. Okay, why should they wait for a call, Mr. Shilon? The Auditor General or the plan don't go to court, they therefore go to court for challenge, in indefinite suspension. Well, of course, now he right for good. But the way when they look at this, I'm wondering, waiting will be the basis of him, waiting will be in standing, waiting they look at how waiting now the argument we think say he able to forward, either in terms of challenging waiting the administration do. You think say he will get enough grounds, for challenge the executive decision?
Oh yeah. Let me not forget say, Miss from your perspective, Miss Clara Pierce or Taylor Pierce taking the government to court is good for the country. It's good for everybody. We therefore begin for look past who is in power, whether the SAP or APC. Once you begin for cloud your judgment, Taylor Pierce not be take APC in a court. So the one take SAP, you missed the point. Now the issue at hand now important, and this the issue now of national importance. The question is, does the president have the power for suspend the Auditor General without being given adequate notice as to what the suspension was based on, without being told what rule she was in violation of, whether the president just get the power for limit the extent to which the Auditor General can audit the president or other top government officials. So these are some of the things. Now, to me understanding, Ms. Taylor Pierce was suspended without being given a reason. And not only that, if they give you a reason, you also have to be given an opportunity to respond whatever the accusation is. That basically we call a due process. The ability for you to be able to defend yourself. You know? Then in addition to that process, they will get what you call procedural due process. That is, you give the person some time for mounted defense. You know? But so what happened in this Taylor Pierce situation, nobody yet is aware of what did the Auditor General did wrong to warrant a suspension. Can the president suspend the Auditor General when in the performance of her duty, she happens to dig up facts that may be embarrassing, inconvenient, you know, explosive, you know, that kind of thing of the president or the government. So, and now we have what you call a constitution. This is, in fact, I was glad to see that some lawyer on behalf of Lara Taylor Pierce has the courage to take the matter to the Supreme Court of Sierra Leone. Because that's why we have a Supreme Court. That's why we have a judiciary. If you think, say, the president has stepped out of a realm of power, that's why we have the courts. Let the court decide that the president can do that or the president cannot do that. But we just cannot allow a situation where people will lose their jobs because of how the president feels. Now, I don't say we in a small democracy, we are an emerging democracy, we still not give the degree of independence to the judiciary as the judiciary should have. But it's time for we to begin to test the system. Because at the end of the day, if the Supreme Court cannot do anything, if the matter is not taken to them, and we cannot test the efficacy or the effectiveness of the Constitution, if we not take the matter to court and raise constitutional violations, you know, and then see how the court treat the matter. So that said, for me, I don't get no problem with Ms. Lara Pierce, Taylor Pierce taking the matter to the Sierra Leone Supreme Court. Let's see what they do with it. Because on the other hand, let us not forget it, with Supreme Court not that busy, because cases that should get up to them are not coming there as fast as they should, you know, as the cases should, because people don't challenge a lot of things on constitutional grounds. So I think this is a good case for test the quality of Supreme Court will get when you get a government as a defendant. And this is a good opportunity to see how far the president in power extend. And so I think it's a good thing for the country, just as I felt that it was a good thing for the country when Mr. Paulo Conte was found not guilty. I think it spoke well of the country that we get an independent judiciary in which the government doesn't put the thumb on the scale. So I am in favor of that. I don't see denting here as not helping the BO government. I think it's helping the BO government, because these are things the government can point to and say, look at the things then. Because I am one of those who give a lot of lavish praises to President BO for certain things, like the criminal libel law, where he abolish, capital punishment, where he abolish, you know, and this dual, not dual citizenship, but the law about citizens in diaspora, where they try for make sure say Sierra Leoneans in the diaspora have some participation in the political process of the country. So I think he's a very progressive leader. He should not allow people for advice or otherwise, because these are things he has done that other people in predecessors them have not done. So he deserves credit for that. But I think his power should be changed.
Thank you. We got 1 hour left, so which I want to actually do a lot of running around. Running around in the sense, we look at this, because inject some laws in there. I wonder if me and you will help with audience law on that, because you don't talk about challenging the president in power. Now, I should say you recall the Watergate saga. I should say you recall that. Of course, you don't read about that. You remember the famous challenge of the president that caught for the handover in tapes there. Now you're talking of, a sitting president, we got challenged by people that we appoint people then, and people that we sit up on the case, we almost half of them now appoint them. All. So how you look at that in the context of separation of powers, the powers of the judiciary, where in the country, if all else fails, if we not get an independent judiciary, while we very fearless, it will help the country. So how you look at that, sir?
Well, what you need to realize, the court, even though they are the referee between the legislature when a parliament in one setting and the executive when the president in side of government, the court are supposed to be the referee, and the court, they maintain balance. And usually the Supreme Court now the ultimate arbiter or the ultimate judge, or now then they call the case, and then they call the shots. But what you will need to realize that courts not get enforcement power. Courts get them power only go to the extent of pronouncing orders or issuing orders. But when they get that order there, they cannot enforce them unless they enforce them in cooperation with the executive. This is not the incomplete aspect of this so-called 3 arms of government. Technically, yeah, the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary. But to some extent, the judiciary gets limitation because they get power for make pronouncement, for send you go jail, for do this, for do that, or for enforce, but they don't get the power for enforce their own order. So now you need the executive, one of the president's own side, for step in. And the president's side, and then get the police, and then get for make sure, say, what in the court's order be complied with. Now there the confusion they come. Because in Sierra Leone setting, there is not a clear line of independence, because the court that is on paper, that is supposed to be independent, not get complete independent because of the inability for set or for enforce their own order. So this is where good governance come into place, because now if you are the president, you want to make sure that all the branches of government work, and the only way that will happen, now way you allow the system for function as it was designed to be, not use the system in a negative way or a detrimental way we go affect the smooth running of government. So now the trouble now we get. Now in Sierra Leone we see say some cases of political importance or political overtone may not even be set for trial or for hearing because there is some political interest in the case. And the judiciary itself not get the power, the enforcement power for demand without the cooperation of the executive, for that case they for be brought and dealt with. So we need to come up with our own political creativity, how we forgive more independence to the judiciary and to what extent the executive, because the legislature too, even parliament, watching parliament pass, the executive not get the enforcement power for make sure say the public comply with what in parliament say. So the executive gets a lot of laws, a lot of power, and they get of, well, how do you restrict the executive where at the end of the day, not then get the power for enforce what in parliament say, and then get the power for enforce what in the court say. But yet then too, they too are subject to the laws of the country. So it's a balancing act, and it's not an easy thing. As I always can say, democracy is not easy. Governance is not easy. We think for just go and be called a minister or this and that. And no country will function effectively if you do not get someone who believes in the rule of law. It will never work. You have to have a belief. You have to make sure that the practice is fully engaged in compliance with what the law is.
Yes, sir. We're going to call, sir. Caller, good evening. Who's the call from? What's your name, please? Caller, you on the line? What's your name? Who's the call from?
Hello.
We don't lost the caller. We don't invite her, we don't care. Okay. This sort of thing we want inject now. We not go in depth.
Like somebody's trying to come. Somebody's trying to come.
Yeah, caller. What's your name? Who's the call from, please?
My name is Elizabeth.
Yes, ma'am.
One for us, I really appreciate the program and the follow-on. That's one for two major things. Number one, the thing of it just not a presidential, because 4 times inside 4 years. Or the question where I want to ask, inside these 4 times 4 years, if we look into retrospect, we can be able to note also that anti-command through Attorney Generals inside 2 years time, where some of them they even dine with them. After the dining, then they know they don't have them through messages. Where, however, that also happened in America, yeah, where Donald Trump been sacked, the Attorney General, where not through Twitter in the note they don't sack. But the next question is what if this government don't do or don't really do like 4 changes of in Attorney General, and in being a former lawyer, I be really want to make a dive into that and make her really understand whether the government or the president harm the people. But also I agree with you, being on an Attorney General or a minister, not a pensionable job. At the same time, the president, it pleases the president. So if it pleases the president for hire and fire, why that would be a problem? So I really want them to explain to me. I please.
Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Shilo.
All right.
Yeah,
Hold on.
No, answer that. No, I don't want to answer. We'll take this other call. Then after this call, they'll be able to answer or two. Do you have 1 second, sir? I'll call outside the call from. What's your name, please?
Hello, this is Omar, call from Switzerland.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Me, you know, where you can term of LAC improve in issue na Salone, again, a lot of questions for answer. The authorities, I mean, Uda give that man that info say, then they revoke is in pardon. because it clearly knows say somebody there within the government where you don't feed them that information. So the government not only for sack the Attorney General, say we don't make, but at least even the Attorney General office need for be investigated. Okay. Now the other thing way Mr. Shilon, I want to ask this. If LAC in this situation grab ask for asylum in other country, and the government notice it in that country through the out and Columba, I don't forget this Interpol, through Interpol, the government go request for them because a clear say LAC na a criminal, So like a criminal, not to TWA before saying in political this na a criminal, a murderer, way being convicted. Then due to so a coincidence or how we call an arranged coincidence, they end up for pulling a prison, a runaway. So if in case then go see them on the other side, then the state go ask for make them return them back to the Salone and let in serving jail time. I'm a question that.
Yeah,
All right.
Answer that lady question first, the first caller. Answer in question, then you come now to Marion, sir. Now we asked about the Attorney General, we talk about Attorney General, the President, Parliamentary. So why you not go address that now?
Okay, with respect to the young lady in calling about the Attorney General, nobody not to say the president's anything, the president not get the power. I mean, the president he can appoint Attorney General every month. He can do that, get the power for do that. So don't think there's anything wrong. So what would you compare, say, well, America or other country, then President Trump. Don't forget, say President Trump said they catch hell now for in unorthodox way of behaving. And for we know Trump, we know say he was a lawless president. You know, get regard for the very system we don't bring into is that. So it's a poor example to be cited. Just because that the American president don't say it's a good example. So there are certain people, they're not to the best people for sight because we look for good examples, not to just people and we lawless, like Trump was, because we all know Trump for lawlessness and in total disregard for law and order. But we does the talk say as a public relation, the public relation aspect as to how a president look from me own perspective, the Attorney General's office is a very important office. You cannot appoint a new Attorney General each year on average, and then understand what you had to say. The 4 appointments them so far that President Biyodo make to that one office day are appointment made out of reacting to 3 of the appointments them. Because the first appointment, it gets in your own criteria why Charles Magai was the AG. But it's SACAM in reaction to some information we receive. But so my point is, procedurally, and for any own good image, for the president's own good image, and not necessarily get for replace them guys here. You can sack an Attorney General and get somebody acting in the place of that person who didn't sack, and make sure, say, you staff the vet, what we can call vet, for investigate the background of the next person where you want to appoint at that position there. For whatever reason you think so that person there suited for the position, but not just sack and appoint. Then 1 year later, you sack, you appoint. It's all I'm saying. That doesn't reflect good on the president. You look for, say, the president is kind of reactive. It is a reactive situation, and then it take time for look into something before you appoint people into the position. That, so I'm not saying there's anything wrong. The president get the power for do that. But from a public relation campaign, there is an issue of judgment where you get 4 attorneys general in 4 years, So, yes, but not to everything where they happen in America is good example. There are a lot of things in the American setting that within the judicial system, I would criticize, So, it's not all great. So we own thing is for we own country, we don't need for copy. We get enough bad examples. So we don't need any bad example from America and the good one that we want. Okay.
I think he talked about that pardon. He asked about the pardon. I think he talked about so I don't know if you make a brief comment on that also within the purview of the president in power and all that thing.
I don't remember which the question we asked about the pardon. If he
well, as far as I said, the constitutionality of it, I mean, we do on the pardon and all that thing because they talk this with the agenda.
The president, like I say, because I think I don't repeat that over and over, in power for pardon is unquestionable. They get almost an absolute power, and I think it's a correct power. I think the president for be able, but for avoid corruption, that the process for get solid checks and balances, for be immune from corruption. So what happened with this Lack fellow, who clearly, by all indication, was not intended to be pardoned by the president. So somebody cooked the process up that led to him being released from jail. And rumor has it that, in fact, even when the president withdrew the pardon, he already just keep it in another country. And I think Mr. Umar in question is, if Interpol can intercept him, well, if he is indeed a fugitive from justice, if the government put the word out there, Interpol can intercept him. And also, whatever country he is at the moment, if Sierra Leone gets a treaty, with that country there, then can repatriate them, then can send them back to Sierra Leone for serve the rest of his time. Again, this goes with the new AG in responsibility. So the new AG get the power for pursue this guy, because he was serving time and it was accidentally. Now this country, when they release you by accident, then catch you, then go put you back there. So if the president release you as a result of deceit, then it will draw that pardon there. If I go back to the Baimba Road, but for all the area and say this guy is out of the country right now. So in answer to Mr. Umar in question, yeah, Interpol, if the government put out information out there that there is an existing warrant of arrest for you to travel at your own risk, because then if they ask the assistance of Interpol, the International Police Organization, then get the ability for detain you wherever they catch up with you. So let me answer that to Mr. Umar.
Even though we been get forget a guest for help for discuss, this constitution business. We know they go in depth, but what I want to do, I want to go around for pick some bone there I want to address. Hopefully, when you colleague join, we at an appropriate time we'll talk about it. Now, to you, who are actually the people that we supposed to write a constitution? Who are the people that? Now, I want to let you start first.
Well, to me, I think say you forget a constitutional committee of constitutional court scholars. There must be constitutional scholars in the midst of that committee there for oversee the good framing of a constitution. It takes more than well-educated lawyers. It takes more than just intellectuals. It takes more than people with degree or PhD in English and all of that. I mean, you can get such a person at the committee, but that committee there can also involve lawyers and non-lawyers, because a constitution is not like a science formula or mathematical formula. I mean, everything is based on projection, guesswork, anticipation of conduct of people or development that may not have occurred, but that may likely occur. Within what time frame, nobody knows. So when you put a constitution together, you look at your social structure, you take into account a variety of factors and get people that will put them in words for make sure say that is used. But the actual implementation of a constitution, now the Supreme Court of that country, then from time to time begin for refine the constitution for like a meaning. You know, a constitution not just a sketch, not just like where you draw a plan. The implementation, now the contractor now where they put the host together. You know, almost cement for go pan foundation, outside do for this and that. That's what the courts do. And in order for it to be the Supreme Court alone, it can be the courts at every level. It can be magistrate court, it can be high court, it can be the Court of Appeals, it can be the Supreme Court. So a constitution we put together, what you need to see, the constitutions in so far we would not get. I'm not questioning the fitness of the people and we draft them, but I'm always eager to know the constitution of the committee. In other words, whether are the people who be in the committee will write that constitution. Even recently with the Yoruba white paper, whether Yoruba Peter Tucker, whether Yoruba S.J. Pratt, whether Yoruba Dr. Abdullahi Conte, we don't know whether they single-handedly, whether Yoruba the Cowan Commission. So now, how many of these people were actual constitutional scholars? Or did they just feel because they can write good English, because they're a lawyer, because they were smart, because they graduated with first class, that qualifies them for write a constitution? And I take the position that if not so, they are grossly in error. Because otherwise we will keep writing constitution time and again. So all me to suggest, what you will get now, we'll get for improvement. We can't be spending time on every new government for write constitution. It don't make sense. What you will get so now we can develop them. You see, America gets amendments because they don't found the fathers themselves. No, be put everything in order, according to everything they anticipate. And even now, as we speak, you know, there are still, there are some imperfections in the American system.
Sure.
And one good example is they keep telling us nobody's above the law. But literally, it's not true. The President of the United States is above the law. There are a special process, caution. If you want to charge them with a crime, first of all, you can't charge them with crime when they're in office. Well, who else get that privilege there other than that one person there? Okay. 2, even when they're in office, you get to proceed cautiously. And it's about America. Then 3, then you're Supreme Court. The Supreme Court judges of the United States are not subject to any ethical rules. I mean, absolutely zero ethical rules. They can do as they please. They can abuse their power. They can attend political. Any Supreme Court justice can go Democratic meeting. It can go Republican meeting. It can go campaign. We see that now that happen with Clarence Thomas in WEF. In fact, now back home, they go suspect, say, Clarence Thomas to take bribe. Because in WEF, they support them right-wing party openly, and she's being paid by certain groups of a justice's wife. I mean, it's just unbelievable. So we eyes them open, so not to everything. So when we draw up our own constitution, we for no say, a lot of aspects don't cover ethical guidelines for the Supreme Court judges. So we can't let we on our way there. We got to forget guidelines for them because of we own situation of the likelihood of corruption. Okay? The Constitution of the United States, in terms of terms, how many times has the president have suggested over and over we need for revisit them, for make sure So it's either 2 consecutive terms, but only when you're out of office, you're out. You don't go get the power for come back and run, which is not what the American Constitution is saying. The American Constitution doesn't prohibit you from coming back. Like Donald Trump, when I say it, the talk say he might run again. You know? So we must make a...
Mr. Shilon, let's stop you on that. Yes, Mr. Trump is going to come back because, remember, he has just served the presidency one time. One time, no, he don't serve the presidency of the United States. Okay.
Yeah, but there's
so,
Go ahead.
Okay, but the thing though, we really need to make this clear. We need to make it clear. He has just served 1/4 term. So I think he can come back more assume if he party nominate him and then he get elected, he come back after that other 4 years now. Then I think this is where the problem. He shouldn't come back because by then he will not serve 2 terms. Except I'm missing the point here. I don't know how you go able to put it properly, sir.
Okay, the point here is a fine point. The Constitution gives the president the power for run for a second term, the American president. And he can run for a second term, and he can win, and he can lose. But the law not say if he don't run one term, like way the elder President Bush, he ran, he lost. He only served 1 term. Okay, he could have come back, but the way they left the Constitution open-ended. In American history, neither Trump nor President Bush, you ever get any precedent where they try to come back 1 time or not, because then we just assume the president, whoever they run for the office of the presidency will be of such high stature in society that he will know, say, if he lost election, not if he go try for come back a second term. Now, make a deal with the other aspect. The other aspect is, they say consecutive terms. Okay, yes, then get 2 terms. But the Constitution does not say after those 2 consecutive terms, if you step aside, you let a 4-year term run out, there is nothing that says you cannot come back and run. There is nothing that says Obama couldn't run for the presidency again. But by tradition, he will not do it. But there's no law prohibiting him from running again. There's no law prohibiting President Clinton.
All right, let's take this call. I think so. We'll come back to it. Let's take this call. Very quick. We'll come. Caller, who's the call from? What's your name, please? Caller, what's your name? Who's the call from, please? Okay, I mean, I think the caller no get to it. We know the get to. Okay, with that though, I mean, we still stay within the rights of this Constitution. Now, waiting, like I said, we not a good in depth into this thing with the before Salone Parliament or with the president. But what I do, I said don't extrapolate some of the things them where I don't look, and as a matter of fact, you don't even discuss them. So I will discuss them openly for everybody here now. This question of, you know, a party, not for okay. Caller, what do you call from? We get to, what do you call from? Whose side you call from? What's your name, please? Caller, you on the line? Caller, whose side you call from? And what's your name, please? Right. Why if you talk so they will come back? I don't know what thing happen. Okay. There is this question where I should say, me you don't talk about this question where they try for prevent the partisan from sacking the president. So the question to you, that if it's supposed for the day, because the reason why this will be of fundamental concern to we of course South Africa didn't get us, so then that make Thabo Mbeki and he lost a power and pull up. But me believe see a president is being elected by the wider constituency, and the wider constituency and the country as a whole. Now I'm going to even talk about also how the president get a lot of power. Way for just pull up number, you don't get just pull up in office, and in fact this never happened. Where they put president in office, you never pull up because of the enormity of the power. Because now the whole constituency they elect up the whole country. So the question to you that if it be necessary for let they even put down the select a party no in a sack a president, we are not supposed to this. How you do that, sir?
Well, I think this is in reference to this recent white paper, where I think there was some mention made about, in fact, a party. I don't know how they word them because I don't have the text of the white paper, but they talk about how the party not for be able to get a president to be fired. Well, I take the position that under no circumstance should a party have the power for terminate a presidency. I mean, to me, it will be such a miscarriage of justice, because when the president is elected by the people, and most times in most countries by majority of the people. Again, there are some exceptions. Okay, this is American democracy is another thing where I can always recommend say you can't practice certain aspect of American democracy, because American are the only democracy in the world women know of, where the majority, the person who won the majority vote can lose to the person who get minority vote. It's a unique kind of thing where no country should implement this American system of election. It's a dangerous, it's a terrible, in fact, it's an affront to democracy. This electoral college and all this thing, it's a bunch of nonsense. You cannot get two people that run for an office, one get millions or hundreds of thousands of votes past the other, but then say because of some archaic rule, the person will get less votes, they ain't win the presidency. It defies common sense, it defies logic, it defies everything. So, like I can say, a lot of things we will see in America, I don't necessarily for us grab go copy them and try to implement and not go work. So, but that said, there are a lot of things like the South Africa situation. Mbeki lost the presidency in South Africa because the ANC party sacked him. But he did not become president as a result of the ANC. The ANC party put in a power. Now be the candidate who won, who took government. But when he lost in leadership, the constitution was written in such a way the country was deprived of their president. That's another dangerous kind of constitution for right, we're not for right anywhere. A political party forget the power for fire the leader, or then forget the inner workings as to how a leader can be gotten rid of or can be fired. But no leader should have no party should have the power. Once one has been declared the president, no party should have the power for sack a president who was elected by the people, regardless of political party. If we do that, that will be short-sighted. It will be very, very dangerous. So, but I see reference made to that, which means somebody was thinking in that white paper. There's somebody alluded to it and probably wanted to inject that into 1991 Constitution. That should be unthinkable. We shouldn't even bring that there. So, but again, the way we rush things out, we will always get receptive to come back for revisit, because sometimes some of them things here, if we lay them out, they will see them clearly, they will comment on them, and they will tell them why certain things not good. That's like we will be get the case of Anes Kuruma and Sam Sumana. Everybody, you don't have to be a lawyer. Everybody and anybody knows say President Kuruma not get the power for sack a vice president were not to hire. Not to, not part of in cabinet, but hire, unlike other members of in cabinet, where you can sack at will. In vice president, that being running mates, what people then vote for, so was there at the will of the people. It would seem to me the Supreme Court of Sierra Leone will have made a landmark decision by making that distinction there. Say, that's one area the president, and that's one person the president is not going to be able to just at whim sack, because they get along with the vice president. When he finish in term, if he want run, he get the right, as President Kababi do with Dembi when I be in vice president. When President Kababi run the next term, he take Berawa. He take Berawa as in running mate, not Dembi. Yeah, the president can do that because the president gets the power for choose who I want for run with him. But once they don't run, he should never have such power to be able to sack that vice president's day. And unfortunately, the Sierra Leone judiciary, for whatever reason, made a big blunder, what will be generational. And that's another thing. We need to begin to appoint judges to the Supreme Court, like this kind of case will appears to bring to the Supreme Court, judges of integrity, judges with regard for posterity. We would think, but generations are yet on board. So when they make decisions, it will go for many years beyond our lifetime, because they too have a duty to make sure, with judiciary work, So then judges, then they will be doing the Samsumana and Eskuruma case. It was a big blunder, for whatever reason, that was a great disservice to the country because the decision was poor in every respect, from a legal standpoint, from an intellectual standpoint, from a common sense standpoint. It was all terrible. Back to you, Mr.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Actually, can wrap up. This will be the very last one. So I want to comment on them. And I want to tell me how you feel about this. When we start for run parliamentary democracy in Salone, we been getting a retired judge, and that they mean perform the role of speakers. For example, we first run, we NSB Kubet. Then we come to Sir Henry Light Boston. Then we come to Sir Banjat Jansi. Then we come to Sir Emil Fashul Luke. Then we come to Singabet, Passy Davis. I think that they be had a column between Singabet, after Singabet and Passy Davis. Going down the road now, we just see them bring William Conte when I be security guard in our Taki. It's not doing the Momo of the enemy speaker. And of course, we know, see anything. Then again, they go to, they come with another fellow when I be even Bankole strong, but then they change again for. So, in your opinion,
where
you now SPB Dumbuya, yes, SPB Dumbuya and I replace Bankole strong. Now, the question to you is, this being my last comment. You think say it will be okay now hold on to the fact say now retired judges the what we don't get for preside over with parliament and we get anybody or any politician. How you look at that? What are your opinion on this?
Well, it's a matter of preference as to which we're comfortable with, but there is no rule of thumb that says to be Speaker of the House, one has to have a legal background, because even though a speaker to a large extent conducts parliament like a judge conducts a courtroom, but the function of a judge is much more involving than just maintaining order. Because the speaker will say order, there's a lot of talking. Every now and then the speaker go probably overrule certain motion or allow a motion to be made. But a judge, they do much more than that, which calls for a legal background. But the general practice worldwide, where Australian could have maintained the policy of having someone with legal background, that would have been okay, but I don't think it's necessary. And so when they replace Strong with Dumbuya,
William Conte.
William Conte.
No. Strong, they replace Strong with SBB Dumbuya. William Conte now replace Singabet.
Okay. So when they change the system that way, I think say you still get forget some degree of you can forget some background what for indicate say you get the qualification and the integrity for run such an office, just not for be a political appointment. In America, for example, you become Speaker of the House, you don't have to be a lawyer. And these speakers do conduct themselves honorably. Now, so we get a look at we're in a unique situation and say, well, you just can't go now Wataki and take a security guard and make a Speaker of the House because you get political connection. I don't think that speak well of a system, you know, and we forget minimum kind of qualification, and the qualification for be both academic and experience. You don't necessarily forget a degree, high degree, but if you get a high degree, if you get a degree and a lot of experience, where should say you get what it takes for hold such an office, I think say it will be better. So I don't have a preference. It's a matter of just making sure that the office, the integrity of the office is maintained. Then I'm my own main concern. But I don't think it speaks well of we Parliament where somebody just be taken anywhere for those could be Speaker of the House by appointment. I think the American version is a little bit, to me, preferable. That is when I pick the Speaker among when I say forget the majority in the House or in the Parliament. So party in power, if I want to get a majority, and that's another area too, you know, we get to make it clear whether not the party in power or not the party that has the majority in Parliament, and then for get a speaker voted from within themselves. So to me, that another American version, and so because then parliamentarians here, they're competent enough for determine who among them is capable for become speaker, for become the leader. So me prefer the American system, not to that for just go outside Parliament and go pick somebody where the work in a Port Authority or the work in a Goma Valley because you get connection. So that would be
exactly.
Every decision we go for think in terms of the well-being of the country. We left then shortcut process there because they know the help.
Okay, thank you. Of course, the case happy be happy. We Momona be president, so now they bring with our content from what I tell now with our equity. But you know, as we wrap up now, I just want to ask one quick question, and then I ask you for consolidate we being one here today into context and perspective. And the question where I want to ask, Iboda on this, you know, let's say I get for spend too long on that. What do you make of Alpha Khan in inclusion in the BO administration? What do you make of it?
Well, I think from a political standpoint, that was a coup by Bio coup in a positive sense, not in a negative sense. It was a good political coup because Alpha Khan was a valuable person at the APC echelon. So by the SFPP and President Bio being able to swing another area for whatever reason, I think on the part of APC is all plus plus plus. I mean SFPP is all plus plus plus. The only thing that I personally would say, you do not trust people who move from one political party to another political party, from one political party, because Mr. Khan was an APC, then he see an opportunity, now he does switch to SFPP. So him joining the SFPP is fine. But why will anybody rely, because, I mean, everybody knows that's political opportunism, you know? If tomorrow APC kind of power, he will find a reason to go back, just like our Victor Fo and many other people. So you ask yourself, does it make sense for people for trust people and way they switch party to party as the opportunity presents itself? Or does it make sense not for treat these people for what they appear to be? So for me, on the Alpha Khan issue, I wouldn't trust such a politician because I know say he can switch party anytime. He's in politics for himself. But the public relation advantage and points by him being taken into the SFPP, I think is of tremendous value to SFPP. So I think SFPP do the right thing to have such an influential person to swing over to them, you know. But I don't know what that means in terms of trust and dependability. So I will not attach much to Alpha Khan in switching over, you know. Now, if Alpha Khan, if this was in England, because the next thing you know, people will say, well, Englishman in the Duam, Canada in the Duam. No, yeah, in the Duam, but an English person doesn't switch party just because I see an opportunity. A lot of times, they will switch, they will cross carpet because of policy difference or difference.
Just last week, it happened last week.
Yeah.
One conservative MP just grabbed a seat during the Prime Minister's debate. Now you can go sit down at the Labour place, without any fanfare. You walk across because when you watch the debate, I was like shocked. Nobody not saying anything. You come out and I go sit down and now you don't join the Labour Party. So that said, I mean, I like the discussion today. What I let you do for me, because we get about 5-10 more minutes left. I want to let you consolidate with me on here today into context and perspective, put everything together. We now go represent, the grand finale. We have one finale go be your last word. Follow come on by 5 o'clock.
Well, I know say we'll talk about 2-3 issues. We'll talk about the soccer team, and why they deserve an enthusiastic welcome back home. And I think they deserve. I've always advocated that it's time for we to begin put or work out some way where we players them, where they represent the country, for be taken as valuable assets to the country and try for put them on some kind of income way for allow them for plan their own future also. Okay. Now, whatever the formula that may be, I don't have one in mind. But I think, I've always taken a position, a soccer player, a tennis player, a golf player in talent is no less than somebody who's talented in the law, in medicine. These are all major contributors to the well-being of society. Because if the talent is that easy, then any doctor or professor can play soccer very well, but it's not that easy. You can forget the talent. So just like how that soccer player don't get the talent of a doctor, and don't get the talent of a lawyer, likewise, the soccer player in talent for be valued as importantly as any other talent. So we can't just be, and the other thing, unlike other professions, soccer and incident day, you reach your peak very quickly. By the time you're 30, 32, you don't reach your peak, you're going down. So within that short period of longevity, that longevity period, between whatever time you begin to play adult soccer to 30, 32, there has to be provisions for you to have been able to be on some kind of steady income. So even when you not reach your peak, you still have a future. And God help you end up being injured in the process, then your livelihood is cut short. And for the one that would play abroad, where in the name of country they can't play for weed and they take tremendous risk. So we need for big input, American man can say, skin in the game. The one that they can play for give fame, for put your country in the map, we need for put your intellect. We, the ministers, the Minister of Sport, the President, for let begin for take them players seriously. I don't think it's good policy for just get a situation. And I will ask somebody that question. If you give the players the money when they win, and it's about 10,000, so what happens when they draw? Do they get any money? And definitely what happens when they lose? They don't get anything? I don't think that's fair. I think there should be expectation of income on a steady basis as a means of livelihood. So we need for begin to come up with system for help with players them. And soccer players are not the only people who represent Sierra Leone. We get athletes them, runners them, high jumpers, other people where they go in the name of Sierra Leone. So aren't those people deserving of monthly stipend or something? Not only when somebody win. So we need to get some good policies in place for make sure say them people already represent we in the name of the country, then do the right thing. And so again, as a wrap up, the Constitution, you see, we get a constitutional democracy now, not a parliamentary democracy. At one point, Parliament was the be-all and end-all when it comes to the system. Now we get a constitutional democracy. Any laws passed by Parliament has to be within the framework of the Constitution. The Constitution is above Parliament. Parliament itself has to comply with the Constitution, not the other way around. So but we can't make the Constitution function unless we practice it, unless we're lawyers and go to court and try to make the Constitution work. And I'm sure we'll almost run out of time, but there's one video I like for will play for listeners them about Constitution from the late de Klerk of South Africa, in last wish of the country of South Africa, that they say the survival of South Africa depends on the Constitution, and everybody for strive to make it work. I think if we have an opportunity, we'll play that video there. It's a very touching video, and I think it should serve as a lesson to every developing country. We wish for maintain a stable society for the next generation.
Okay, well, I ask technical team if they get some. Technical team, if we not get some, we have to tell else, we go try for see now off, and for hope say we lead host. Then Miss Fadima Savage with the wish and well, and hope say they follow, and we eagerly await in return. So you can join we again here. So assuming the technical team not get time, what to do? We'll make a priority. And we'll come Sunday. Sunday. And we go. The only problem we'll get about the copyright violation, we're not too sure. But we'll get for check with the technical team because now and when it's ready, go suspend we or will go, infringe on other things. So I want to appeal to the listeners for doing and let them do it up to next week. We will try to clarify that with the technical team, then we'll help with, because we'll therefore be very careful about copyright violation. Other than that, on behalf of all my colleagues and our viewers, it's always a pleasure for Girl Nanaya. This place, the Nayon place, we're glad you Nakande. I mean, yes, we are not asked too many questions, but we listen, we all learn until we'll come back next Sunday. This na Kutubu Kuma, they sign off on behalf of the entire viewers and team with the DB social media review.